Assalamualaikum and good day Abid to Dr. Rashidi. We are from Group 3E and now we would like to present about a short story entitled Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway. In this presentation, there will be 6 presenters, which are myself. My name is Nasra binti Ahmad Long. My metric number is 148192, followed by Nurin Hana Farzana binti Amri, metric number 159105. Lim Laichin 147252, Muhammad Hizami bin Said Saadun 158502, Amirul Mukminin Liu bin Muhammad Kamaruddin 157073, and Kevin Adrel Ting 157173. Today's presentation will be covered the introduction, theme, plot, characters, setting, symbol, and irony. Now I will start our presentation with the introduction of the short story. Hills Like White Elephants is a short story by Ernest Hemingway that was first published in 1927. It is a short story that focuses on a conversation between an American man and a young woman described as a girl at a Spanish train station while waiting for a train to Madrid. At that place, they were drinking beer and liquor while having a conversation. In the story, the man tried to convince the woman to have an abortion, but the woman was puzzled about it. It can be evidenced on page 2 when the American man said, "It's really an awfully simple operation, Jake. It's not really an operation at all." At the end, his word made the girl sad and made the conversation even more serious. Overall, the tension of the story comes from the brief and thorny dialogue.
There are 3 big themes that I have discovered in this short story. First, communication. Second, love. And third, gender. First of all, I will be explaining about the theme, the importance of communication in a relationship. This entire short story revolves around the communication between the 2 main characters, which are the American guy and also the woman, Jig. They seem to be having a problem regarding an operation that the American guy has suggested to Jig. However, Jig seems to not be liking the idea of getting the operation at first, which this actually led to a small argument between the 2 characters. In my opinion, it is very important to always communicate with each other so that there won't be any misunderstanding that might happen in any relationship, be it love relationship or even friendship or family relationship. Even so, the communication needs to be done naturally and calmly so that an ending that is agreed by all sides can be reached. Next, the second theme that I will be presenting in this short story is the differences between the 2 genders, which are the American guy and also Jake. As we can see from throughout the entire story, while they were confronting each other about the problem, about the abortion, about the operation, both of them actually talk very differently, and even the way they approach the problem were also contrasting with each other. While the American man seemed to be very composed, very calm about the issue, the woman seemed to be very tense about it. In my opinion, the woman, Jake, might be feeling that way because she is the person that will be undergoing the operation instead of the American guy. It is actually fair for her to feel that way, as it does involve her future as well, even though the man assured that he will keep on loving her the same. She still feel unsure and anxious about it. This clearly shows the differences between the 2 genders in this short story. Lastly, I will be presenting about the last theme, which is concern in love. As I have said earlier, this short story revolves around a concern that arises in the American guy and Jake's relationship. In any relationship, be it family relationship, friendship, or love relationship, there will always be thorns in the way that could destroy or also could save a relationship. It depends on the way the people in the relationship handles it. In this case, in Jake's and the American guy's case, the American guy actually tried really hard to express that his love towards Jake would not change in the future, even if the operation, even if the abortion that he suggested might change Jake in any way possible in the future. This actually proves that the American guy really, really loves his partner despite the concern that is arising in their relationship.
Thank you, Nurin Hana, for the presentation. Assalamualaikum and a very good day abid to Dr. Rashidi. My name is Muhammad Hizami bin Said Saadon with metric number 158502. We'll continue the presentation with plot. In Heels Like White Elephant by Ernest Hemingway, there are 5 parts which consist of exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So we will start with the first part, which is exposition. The story started with the American man and the girl sat at the table under the shade. They were sitting across the valley of Ebro, waiting for train to Madrid. The girl asked the American man on what should they order. So they decided to order 2 glasses of beer. Then through a beaded curtain, a waitress came out with 2 glasses of beer with 2 felt pads. Next, rising action. The girl mentioned that the heels looked like a white elephant, but the man said that he never saw one. They began to discuss with each other whether the girl has really saw a white elephant or not. Then, they continued to order 2 glasses of new alcohol drink. The American man switched the conversation and talked about operation, in this context, abortion. Because in the story, the man mentioned that they just let the air in and then it's all perfectly natural. He kept asking the girl to do it, but he did not want to first force her. Now we will move to climax. At this part, we can clearly see that the more they order drinks of beer, the more they argue with each other. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. I wouldn't have you to do it if you didn't want to, but I know it's perfectly simple. And you really want to? I think it's the best things to do, but I don't want you to do it if you don't really want to do it. The man, while urging the girl to have the operation, says again and again that he really doesn't want her to do it if she really doesn't want to. However, he clearly is insisting that she needs to do it or she have to do it. The girl is trying to be brave and nonchalant but is clearly frightened of committing herself to having the operation. We can see that at this part, the girl insists or doesn't want to do that operation because she is afraid to do it. Because she already know what will happen or what will she lose if she do the abortion. And then we will move to falling action. The girl stood up and walked to the end of the station. She started to show her disappointment on the man's decision. I said we could have everything. We can have everything. No, we can't. The American man kept on asking and forced the girl to do the operation. At one point, the girl asked him to stop talking. Then we move to the last part, which is resolution. The man excused himself to move his bag to the other side of the station. When he returned back to the girl and asked her, "Do you feel better?" The girl replied, as if like there is nothing happened between the American man and her. "I feel fine," she said. "There's nothing wrong with me. I feel fine." So that's how the stories goes when we break down it into 5 parts. I'm done with my presentation. I will pass this presentation to Lim Lai Chi.
Greetings everyone, my name is Lim Lai Chin and I will be describing the characters in the short story Heels Like the White Elephant. There are 3 characters in the short story, which is the girl with the nickname Jig, the American man, and lastly is the woman, which is not really outstanding in the short story. So I would like to describe about the girl first because she looks like she is the most active role as the dialogue starts and ends with her line. In the beginning of the short story, we can read her dialogue, which is when she asks the American man, "What should we drink?" And at the end of the short story, she answers to the American man, "There's nothing wrong with me. I feel fine." And furthermore, she may comes from English-speaking country, and she may be quite young and is inexperienced. This is because she does not understand the waitress words when the American man translate to her. So she needs the man to translate it to her so that she can order her drinks. But she is seemed to be more hopeful than the man because she understands that their relationship will never be the same anymore, even though she did follows what the man asked for her to do the abortion. So this can be seen from the line which she say that the world is not the same anymore for them, and it's not them anymore. So next we will move to the American man, which is portrayed as an experienced and knowledgeable man in the short story. We can see that she can wellly understand the woman that speaks Spanish, and he can translate the words from the curtain that the girl asks, which is a drink's name, Anis Litoro, I think. And next, the American man tried to maintain cool with his words. He also failed to understand the girl's feelings. From his word, he seemed like someone that doesn't really care about the girl feeling and just try to get along with the girl. When the girl asked of his opinion, he said, "Just follow with what you want." Whereas the girl is waiting for the man's answer for her to get a decision on what should she done, what should she do. Lastly is the woman, which is a small character. She is a waitress at the station and she only speaks Spanish. Her words need to be translated by the man to the girl. So this is all about the characters in these short stories. That's all from me. Thank you.
Now I will continue the presentation with the setting in Hills Like White Elephants. Setting in the literature is about the location and time period in which the action of a narrative takes place. It is used to set the scene the writer attempts to create in the reader's visual imagination where the story takes place. Hence, the setting in this short story is a train station, which is the place where the events have mostly happened. A train station, it is located somewhere near the Ebro, a river in northern Spain between Barcelona and Madrid. It can be evidenced from the first paragraph on page 1 where the writer directly describes that the hills across the valley of the Ebro were long and wide. The American and the girl with him sat at a table in the shed outside the building. It was very hot and the express from Barcelona would come in 40 minutes. It stopped at this junction for 2 minutes and went to Madrid. From the description, we can immediately notice where the event happened, which is the train station. Throughout this short story, the train station is to be the place where most of the incidents of events take place, and it will surround the rest of the story. First and foremost, it was the place where the couple was drinking beer and liquor while waiting for the train to Madrid at the bar. It can be seen on page 1 where the girl asks what should they drink and she suggests beer to the American man. Besides, it is also a place where they are having a deeper and more serious conversation about the things they are worried about. It was all started by the American man when he tried to convince the woman to have an abortion and said that the process was not awful. It can be proven on page 2, where the writer stated that it's really an awfully simple operation, Jake. It's not really an operation at all. The tension of the couple's conversation grew so intense that the woman stood up and walked to the end of the station. Overall, the train station became the most important place as it witnessed many events in the story.
Hello everyone, I'm Amirul and I'll be discussing about the symbols and what it symbolizes in the short story Hills Like White Elephants. As we all know, a white elephant symbolizes something no one wants. In this story, it could be used to symbolize the girl's unborn child. The girls comment in the beginning of the story that the surrounding hills look like white elephants initially seems to be a casual, maybe an off-topic remark, but it actually serves as a seek for her and the American to discuss their baby and the possibility of having an abortion. The girl later retracts this comment, maybe because of a change of heart, with the observation that the hills don't really look like white elephants. That alone gives a subtle hint that perhaps she wants to keep the baby after all. But it was a hint that the American misses. In fact, she even says that the hills only seem to look like white elephants at first glance, and that they're actually quite lovely. Comparing the hills and metaphorically the baby to elephant also recalls the expression the elephant in the room, a euphemism, if I might say, for something painfully obvious that no one wants to discuss, such as the possibility of having an abortion. Nobody really wants to discuss it, but it has to be discussed at some point. The next symbol that we can take from this short story is the surroundings of where the story happened. Hemingway sets hills like white elephants at a train station to highlight the fact that the relationship between the American man and the girl is at a crossroads. Planted in the middle of a desolated valley, the station isn't a final destination, but merely a stopping point between Barcelona and Madrid. Travelers, including the main characters, must therefore decide where to go, and in this case, whether to go with each other and continue the relationship. I might add that the contrast between the white hills and the barren valley possibly highlights the difference between life and death. Life being fertility and sterility, and mirrors the choice that the girl faces between having the baby or death being having the abortion. The girl seems torn between the two landscapes, not only commenting on the beauty of the hills, but also physically walking to the end of the platform and gazing out at the brown emptiness around the station as if she was still contemplating on whether to keep the baby or have an abortion.
Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Tang, and today I'll be explaining the irony for the short story Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway. Before we dive into the irony of the short story, we should know what is irony. So what is irony? A term with range of meanings involving some sort of discrepancy or incongruity. Without further ado, in this short story, the title, Hills Like White Elephant, portrays a scene of irony. The white elephant is the thing in the story they do not want, which would be the baby. The conflict in this story is whether they're gonna keep it or abort it. Early in the story, the girl mentions the hills look like white elephant, but then you will soon notice that later down the story, the girl says they don't look like white elephants, showing the readers that she wants to keep the baby. Jig, who is also known as the girl, then mentions they are lovely hills, signifying that she sees life with the baby. The man in the story constantly brings up the fact that he has never seen one. The American is creating a big conflict and not allowing her to keep the baby. He believes it would be all simple to just have the abortion and have their normal lives back. The man does not see a future with Jake and the white elephant. The man continues to say, I know you will not mind it, Jake. It really is not anything. He keeps trying to reassure that bringing the operation will cause them to have a happy life. The irony in the title of the story is that a white elephant is something that nobody wants. At first, she compares them to hills, because she does not want to keep the baby. But after she said they don't look like white elephants at all, symbolizing that she wants to keep the baby, which is ironic. That'll be all from me regarding the irony of the short story Heels Like White Elephant by Ernest Hemingway. Thank you very much.